Welcome, one and all, in here, out there, all around the world, all the ships at sea, to The Late Show. I'm your host, Stephen Colbert. Today was episode 2 of the hot new reality show, the January 6th committee hearings. We're all waiting to find out if the former president gets to go to the fantasy suite with Lady Justice. She's blind, so he's got a shot. Now, check out. Episode 1 was a huge hit because at least 20 million people watched Thursday's hearing, okay? And we were live, okay? 20 million people. That's the kind of audience usually reserved for Sunday Night Football. Yeah, it makes sense, because Thursday's hearing featured even more guys with brain damage. And so far, my major feeling about these hearings, both Thursday and today, is one of enormous gratitude. We know a lot of this stuff already, but watching them put it together reminds us that we're not crazy. You see, for the past 17 months, the former president and his spineless toadies have been gaslighting us, telling us that we did not see what we all saw, a coup. And it's not like the guy was hiding it ever. In the lead-up, the former president said things like this.
Will you commit to making sure that there is a peaceful transferal of power after the election?
Well, we're going to have to see what happens.
But people are rioting. Do you commit to making sure that there's a peaceful transferal of power?
We want to get rid of the ballots, and we'll have a very peaceful. There won't be a transfer, frankly. There'll be a continuation.
There's your evidence, Your Honor. Exhibit A-hole. He told everyone he was going to commit a crime, and then he went out and he crimed it. Reminds me of O.J.'s first book, When I'll Do It. Today's hearing laid out 2 vital points. First, everyone, all of the former president's advisors repeatedly told him in the clearest possible language that the election was not stolen and that there was absolutely no evidence that it was. And second, the former president decided instead to listen to Rudy Giuliani and his advisors, Ernest and Giulio Gallo. First thing, sure, why not? It's an American classic. First thing this morning, Liz Cheney laid out the case.
You will also hear testimony that President Trump rejected the advice of his campaign experts on election night and instead followed the course recommended by an apparently inebriated Rudy Giuliani to just claim he won and insist that the vote counting stop, to falsely claim everything was fraudulent.
That raises an interesting question. How many of the former president's terrible ideas came from an inebriated Rudy Giuliani? Could it be all of them? Just tell everybody just to inject the bleach. What if you nuked a hurricane? I know. Sell Puerto Rico, buy Greenland. They tell you not to look at the eclipse. You should fight the eclipse. The eclipse was looking at your woman. Come at me. Drunker? Didn't I say you'd be drunker? Maybe a little. As evidence of just how, shall we say, thirsty Rudy was, the committee played videotape testimony from former campaign advisor and man who just chugged a tall glass of hair, Jason Miller.
Was there anyone in that conversation who, in your observation, had too much to drink?
Like Rudy Giuliani?
It's a bit of a leading question. They followed up by asking, do you notice anyone that night who was maybe farting while leaking hair dye and ranting in front of a dildo shop? Anyone like that? Could be anyone. Take your time. Think back. The ranting in front of a dildo shop. The lawyer kept digging.
Tell me more about that. What was your observation about his potential intoxication during that discussion about what the president should say when he's addressed the nation on election night.
And the mayor was definitely intoxicated, but I do not know that his level of intoxication when he spoke with the president, for example.
Well, let me help you out here. There are 5 levels of intoxication on the Rudy breathalyzer. There's over the legal limit, rooting around the dumpster for empties, rooting around his pants in Borat, planning coup in a blackout, and the Masked Singer. True story. Based on true story. After the hearing was over, Rudy's lawyer released a statement saying the former mayor wasn't drunk on election night and that Rudy denies all falsehoods by the angry and misguided Ms. Cheney. Of course, the actual testimony was given by Jason Miller, not Liz Cheney, but you can't expect him to tell those people apart. He's hammered. We also heard, I'm a little thirsty myself. Oh, yeah. We also heard from the former president's campaign manager and man who was born knowing how to play lacrosse, Bill Stepien. The committee played videotaped testimony of Stepien in which he was asked about Giuliani and his pals who were pushing all the election fraud conspiracies.
There were 2 groups of we called them kind of my team and Rudy's team. I didn't mind being characterized as being part of Team Normal, as reporters, kind of started to do around that point in time.
It's true. There were 2 different teams. There were Team Normal and Team Rudy, also known as the Chardonnay team. The former president. One more Rudy joke. The former president did not win the election, and to back that up, they brought in former Fox News editor and hard-boiled egg rejected on a Zoom date, Chris Stirewalt. Chris was part of the election team that called Arizona for Biden on Fox News. He went on air to defend that decision on Fox News, which enraged the former president. So 2 months later, Stirewalt was fired by Fox. And today, when he was asked about calling Arizona that night, it seemed like Stirewalt wanted his old job back.
It was really controversial to our competitors who we beat so badly by making the correct call first. Our decision desk was the best in the business, and I was very proud to be a part of it. Let me tell you, our poll in Arizona was beautiful. We were able to make the call early. We were able to beat the competition.
I'm also fluent in Spanish. I am proficient in Microsoft Excel. I drive stick, and my greatest weakness is that I care too much. Please, somebody hire me. No one's signing up for my OnlyFans. Poor guy. Poor guy. He did the right thing for the wrong people. The committee played some of the former president's greatest election-denying hits, including this gem.
It was 10 o'clock, and you looked at the numbers, and I'm sure you felt that way. This election was over, and then they did dumps. They call them dumps, big, massive dumps.
To give you an idea of how massive, 4 hours earlier, this was dinner. I'm sorry. You're nice people. I'm sorry. One breakout star returned from night one, former Attorney General and Sith Lord summoning another basket of onion rings, Bill Barr. Bill Barr explained that he never bought Giuliani's fraud theories, as he explicitly told the former president.
I told him that the stuff that his people were shoveling out to the public was bull. I mean, that the claims of fraud were bull. I reiterated that they'd wasted a whole month on these claims on the Dominion voting machines, and they were idiotic claims. I thought, boy, if he really believes this stuff, he has, lost contact with he's become detached from reality if he really believes this stuff.
It's so sad to think that the man who spent years insisting that windmills caused cancer somehow lost touch with reality. Of course, my bosses here, the taskmasters, the overlords, the brass, the honchos here, At CBS will not allow me to repeat what Barr called those claims. Is there another way of describing them?
Dumps, big, massive dumps.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. We got a great show for you tonight. My guests are Bryan Cranston and Senator Raphael Warnock. And when we come back, meanwhile...